Hello everybody and welcome to Bright Weird. This is part 2 of the Holy Well, Holy Temple series. So if you haven't seen part 1 yet, get yourself back and watch it because otherwise none of it will make sense. In fact, none of it's going to make sense anyway. So just get yourself back and watch part 1. Anyway, without any further ado, this is part 2 of Holy Well, Holy Temple. So, 2 more temple. I don't doubt that some pyramids around the world were built as sepulchres to a massive ego, but not all of these great structures are tombs. Finding a burial inside is not sufficient evidence to designate a site as a tomb. Now, just because Admiral Lord Nelson is buried in St Paul's Cathedral, it doesn't mean that this structure was erected as his tomb. He was merely buried there as an act of reverence for his service. Even local to me in Cornwall, Truro Cathedral has several eminent persons of wealth buried within its walls. But we're confident that Truro Cathedral was not built for the Bassett family. The purpose of Truro, like many cathedrals, is religious devotion, the site being a literal spiritual machine. Built in this instance in Truro on the convergence of 3 rivers, hence the name Truro. Location is the key. Why do you suppose that those masons of old chose to build a cathedral at a particular location? Now, it's likely that those medieval masons, in choosing the site, were in possession of an ancient knowledge passed down from chisel to maul. Certain locations on the Earth's surface have been designated holy or special since time immemorial. This could be due to the presence of what's known as ley line convergence or Schumann resonance sites where 7.83 Hz naturally comes from the ground, that's the Earth's resonant frequency. Or perhaps there was an ancient water source nearby or a freshwater spring on the site. Whatever it is, these special holy sites have throughout the ages been marked by stone circles, quoits, temples, and yes, it's a little known fact that all of the cathedrals built by the masons of old were indeed built on the site of a former stone monument. One could argue that Christianity built cathedrals at pagan sites to inherit a ready-made congregation, and yes, I can accept that on the surface. However, the truth is much deeper. These special places are known as thin places or portals. Special places where the veil to higher dimensions of consciousness is a little thinner. And you can have a look at my other lecture that I've done online about portals if you want to know a bit more about that. Now that we have the preamble out of the way, we can venture into the land of the Black Earth, Kemet, or as it's now known, Egypt. Kemet literally means black earth or black land, and it comes from the black life-giving silt deposits left each year by the inundation of the River Nile. Incidentally, the name Egypt comes from the Greek Egyptos, which is the Greek pronunciation of the ancient Egyptian name Huatkar-Ptahi, or Mansion of the Spirit of Ptah, originally the name of the city of Memphis. So the Great Mound of Kemet is located near the modern city of Cairo, a place next to the Giza Plateau. And on that plateau, you will find the enigmatic Great Pyramid of Giza and the other pyramids that are there with it. Only one of those pyramids on the Giza Plateau is designated the Great One, and it's the last remaining wonder of the ancient world. Now, it's said to have been built by the pharaoh Khufu, or Cheops, in a mere 23 years. There are some problems with that, which I'll explain. There are many impressive pyramids in the area. One almost identical in size to the naked eye is the Pyramid of Khafre, which sits right next to the so-called Great Pyramid. Khafre looks more impressive, and it's still got its casing stones on the top, and it's often mistaken for being the Great Pyramid. This is the middle pyramid of the 3 remaining ones on the Giza Plateau. But in the wider area, quite nearby actually, there are other pyramids arguably as impressive as that designated the Great Pyramid. In particular, those located at Saqqara and Dashur, which is only 18 miles from the Giza Plateau. Indeed, you can see the pyramids at Saqqara from the Giza Plateau if you look to the south. Are these structures not so great? Why is only that one to the north on the Giza Plateau designated the Great Pyramid? Academia states that the first pyramid of Egypt was one called the Step Pyramid, which is at Saqqara, which, is, as I said, was 18 miles to the south of Giza Plateau. Now, the Step Pyramid is not a true pyramid. It's more of a mastaba placed on top of a mastaba. One interesting note about the Step Pyramid, it's got 6 kilometres of tunnels underneath it. 6 kilometres. Back on the Giza Plateau, something predated even the Great Pyramid. Let us consider for a moment that something predated even the Step Pyramid at Saqqara and stood alone 18 miles away on the Giza Plateau, the site now occupied by the Great Pyramid. I'm aware that this flies in the face of current belief, which states that the pyramids at Saqqara and Dashur were built before the Great Pyramid at Giza. The Step Pyramid around 2780 BC by King Joseph, and later pyramids by Snefru. Historically, the Great Pyramid of Giza has been attributed to a pharaoh called Khufu or Cheops, whose reign was generally dated at 23 years, between 2589 and 2566 BC. This is based on authors of classical antiquity such as Herodotus and the Diodorus Siculus. It should be noted that during the Middle Ages, other people were accredited with the construction of the Great Pyramid. For example, Joseph from the Book of Genesis, Nimrod, or the legendary King Solrid of Salhuk. Now, I don't doubt for a moment that Khufu had a hand in building work on the Giza Plateau, or that he constructed great works such as the Great Pyramid himself, but he likely did not build the Great Pyramid from scratch in only 23 years. Okay, that's the end of part 2 of Holy Well, Holy Temple. I'll be uploading part 3 shortly, unless of course you're watching in the future, in which case you get the idea. Anyway, look, tune in for the next episode. I'll be uploading it in a few days' time. Thanks for watching.